It's Indiana in the morning. Good morning to you, and thanks so much for being with us here today. 12 minutes after 8 o'clock. That over there, right across the microphone from me, is Erick Lauber.
Good morning, Todd.
Good morning. Erick Lauber comes to us this morning from the Technology Center, presented by Marcus and Mack, voted best law firm, best personal injury lawyer 3 years in a row in the Best of Indiana County contest. Visit them online at marcusandmack.com. Well, let's put it this way. Yesterday, Mark Hilliard was here from the Chamber of Commerce, and he mentioned that you've got a really active summer planned.
We have, yeah. Mark and I have met a few times, and we're trying to get some workshops off the ground, so we've got a few to talk about today.
Yeah.
So it's great collaborating with him and the Chamber. It's quite a partnership. So the Technology and Entrepreneurship Center is kind of beefing up its programming for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that I mentioned right away is that we're going to do our startup boot camp again. Which we've done a couple times before. So any entrepreneur in town, anybody who thinks about starting a business and wants to go through kind of working up a business plan is welcome to join us. We're going to be doing this again Tuesday evenings. It's a 6-week program. Starts Tuesday evenings, 5:30 to 7:30 on July 15th. So 6 weeks. It's only $60. Come in and join us, and we'll do everything we can to get you ready to start your business.
There probably are a lot of folks that have been contemplating things of that nature and said to themselves, it's just, it seems like there's too many hoops to jump through, too many contracts that have to be signed, or agreements or licenses you got to get, whatever it happens to be. And I'd like to do it, but it's too much of a hassle. You can allay those fears.
Definitely. And we've worked with many, many different entrepreneurs already, probably over 40 at this point. And many of them go on to start their business. Some don't, some change. Like after we go through this analysis and we start looking at the market, maybe their cost structure. It's not hard to start a business in Pennsylvania. There's a website called One Stop Shop for PA, where you can go through kind of the legality part of it and some advice. But we also partner with the Small Business Development Center and Dr. Eric Swift. He sits over at IUP, and anytime we need his resources, we send people over there. We kind of go back and forth. So I know it sounds scary. It's certainly scary to give up a full-time job and take the leap to be an entrepreneur. Yeah. But sometimes you can start on the side. Like, give it a try. See if there's a good fit. The market's going to work out for you before you take that leap. So this is just in the evenings, 1 day a week. Why not give it a try?
Yeah. Do you help with the business model itself too?
Exactly. Yeah. That's where we spend most of our time, is on the business model. Like, what's going to work? Do you have a good customer fit? We call it market fit. Have you thought through your cost structure and your revenue model? Have you looked at your channels of communication? Do you know about the resources that you can tap to pull this business off? Yeah. So that's where we spend a lot of our time. And then got to do a little bit of financial planning, kind of look at what your projections, as you say. But we don't spend a ton of time on that. If you're going to get deep into it, you need to borrow money, we're probably going to send you to the SBDC and have them work with you on that, because that's their expertise. Yeah. It's helping you line up, say, a bank loan, some other kind of investment.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to sign up for the boot camp, what should they do?
Sure. Just go right to our website, tecenter.org. And under workshops, we've got that listed. And that's something that we've done a couple of times already. But with the Chamber reached out and said, we'd like some specialized workshops because we've had this successful May 20th event. What can we add into our curriculum? And we said, we'd love to help out. So the first thing we're going to do July 8th, it's a noon, kind of a pizza-provided 1-hour workshop, is on AI. Okay. AI for small business. We at the Tech Center have been in the AI field for a couple of years now. We feel like we've got a good understanding of some of the tools, some of the uses for it. So we just want to open our doors to anybody who wants to come in and talk about AI. We'll have a little bit of a planned presentation if you've never heard any of these things, and then we'll do a question and answer at the end. And if you want to follow up, we'll talk with you about that. That's our July 8th one, and this is in tandem with the Chamber. And then July 29th, we're doing a digital marketing for small business. A lot of businesses don't feel like they're quite doing the right thing on social media. Maybe they haven't leveraged their email list yet. So we'll lay out some pathways and some tools to use to get your digital marketing kind of scaled up. Of course, we won't get it all done in 1 hour, so if you want to follow up with us, that's possible. And then we have a third one scheduled for August 19th called Getting Started with E-Commerce. A lot of our small businesses aren't comfortable trying to sell online. Obviously, there's a big market out there if you can kind of hit that. So we want to help them think through that strategy and give them tools for that and get them started. All of these just cost $5. I think it's $7 with the Eventbrite kind of add-on tax.
Yeah.
But for $7, we'll give you pizza and a drink and have you sit around and talk about these 3 topics.
There you go. That's not a bad plan at all right there.
I hope so. And again, just go to the website, tecenter.org, and look under our workshops tab.
Yeah. I want to go back to a couple of the things that you mentioned, and particularly the last one,
Okay.
because I know that there are car dealers that are making great amount of money by actually selling to other car dealers in other cities all across the nation.
Yeah, they kind of trade cars back and forth.
Yeah,
right?
they do that, but there are many customers and companies that are out looking for fleet vehicles, and they'll use car dealers as well. And it doesn't really matter to them where those cars are coming from, because in a day you can have it there at your business.
Shipping charges have all been worked out. Yeah, that's all well known, and lots of fleets move cars around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a system that's obviously very robust. People don't run car dealerships overnight. They've been in it for a long time. But imagine that you're a crafter and you really like to sell more of your crafts, whatever they might be, or your art, or you're a leather maker or a wood turner. You can use our local stores. I think the Artist Hand's great. Create and Curate that Sam runs is fantastic, and there's other venues. But what if you really want to ramp up? You're going to have to go e-commerce at some step.
Yeah.
You're going to have to start thinking about selling broadly. And again, platforms like Etsy have been around a long, long time. They have a very well worked out business model and a large customer base to kind of find your products. But there's others. So we'll bring more than one to the table.
Yeah.
And then making you comfortable with doing that. So it's about a little bit of inventory management and packaging and shipping. And how do you process the credit cards? That is something that a lot of people haven't done, and we want to wake them up to that possibility.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about TEC and its mission. Since we first talked with you about it when you opened the doors.
Yeah, 3.5 years ago.
Yeah. It's been a while now.
It's been a great run, and I think we're doing even better now. So we clearly still have a co-working space. So if people want to rent an office or a desk downtown for a day, a week, maybe a month, they can come talk to us. We do have a classroom that we use quite often, and we do open it up for other people to rent the classroom if they wish. And we have a TV studio, which has kind of a podcast booth off to the side. And that's only $10 an hour, and it's actually well stocked with lights, stands, a microphone. All of that is there already. If they just want to come in, I'll give them a tour and show them around. But as we evolve, we've discovered that we want to kind of focus in some clusters that we think are most beneficial to the community. So we think AI in rural settings is it's going to happen. So let's get out in front. The toothpaste is out of the tube on AI. We're not putting it back in. So we want to help with that. We think that we have one of the more older populations in the state.
Yeah.
So we're looking at ways that we can help older adults manage health, wellness, technology, hobbies, that all kinds of stuff. We think that one of our biggest sets of industries is farming here in Indiana County, as most people know. So we've been exploring ways to work with that population, including the Conservation District with Doug Berry and Alexis Shank. And then, of course, IUP. We're partnering all the time with IUP. We're just recently working with Waleed Farak on a cybersecurity grant that he's putting in. So those are kind of our areas where we think we can have the biggest impact.
Yeah, yeah. AI in a rural setting such as ours is a particularly fascinating subject, simply because for many people, they would have a bit of skepticism that there is an application that AI could help them with in whatever their industry might be. Farming is one of those.
Exactly. And it's unfortunate we call it AI because it's really a suite of things that really should be called machine learning. It's just math, but math done at a scale that we haven't been able to do before. When I try to explain AI, I always start with this example. When you use ChatGPT or Gemini and it seems to be talking to you, all it's really doing is predicting the next word. And it's trained on a massive data set. So if I say to you, roses are red and violets are, what do you say?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are red too. No, you know the people.
Roses are red and violets are, and most of the people listening would say blue.
Says they're blue, yeah.
Well, that's because they've been trained to hear that poem, and that's what they fill it in. If you pick someone who's never heard that poem, violets are, they're going to go purple, right? What are violets? But we've been trained to think of it as blue. So these models simply are predicting what would the next word likely be given all that data that is digested. That's not thinking. It's not intelligent in the way we think about it. It's just a mathematical model that's extremely good at predicting the next word. The other models are kind of similar to that. The ones that make pictures, the ones that do videos, they're not thinking, they're not intelligent. They're just very, very good at math and have a large data set. So that applies to rural settings. Imagine you have a large data set from a farm or just farming in general. There's a lot of data out there about farming practices and farming techniques. When we've ever brought that to bear in a small family farm here in the county, there's data all over the place on traffic patterns, on retail behavior, on health and fitness, and aging. Lots and lots of data available, but sometimes those questions don't get asked because people in San Francisco aren't thinking about the topics that we're thinking about out here.
Yeah.
That's how we think about it.
Yeah.
Let's take these mathematical techniques, these data sets, and ask the questions that we want answered out here.
And be surprised at how adaptable AI actually is.
Yes.
To whatever the application is you ask it to apply itself to.
Yes, but in a sense, it's still being steered by the human. Like AI makes mistakes all the time. There's a lot of, sometimes we call hallucinations. It just makes up a fact. It isn't a fact. It doesn't really reason all the way to the end sometimes. You got to stop it and start over and say, no, you went off on a tangent. That's not going to be helpful.
Yeah.
I mean, I face this kind of stuff all the time when we're programming AI. So it's not as intelligent as people think it is. It needs humans in the loop to get to correct solutions and solutions that we can use. But we could talk about AI all day. It's a very large topic, and there's a lot there.
Sure. So 3 topics for this particular series.
Sure. AI for small business, digital marketing for small business, and e-commerce for small business. And again, the Startup Bootcamp is going to start July 15th, so people should just get online and check that out.
And for all of those, website again is?
tecenter.org.
There you go.
Yeah.
Eric, thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd. It's good to see you again.
You too. Appreciate it. It is the voice of Indiana County. It's WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, WCCSradio.com. Matt is in the newsroom. He's coming up right now at 8:25. It's